There's a bit of space in the front row, Diana, as well, if you want to bring a mat forwards. This is a nice problem to have. So there's a space freshly made at the front here if anyone wants to come. Okay, good. Looks like we're all in. So yeah, really, really warm welcome from me. So my name's Garavavati, and I'm also one of the people leading the day. And it's just really, really nice to see a full shrine room. It's lovely to be here together. Very appropriate that there's lots of us gathering together to celebrate Sangha Day. And I'll say hello if you're joining us online as well. So really warm welcome for those that can't make it to the centre today. So it's well, the main thing probably to start with is to say, look at this beautiful shrine. That's one of the sort of really beautiful things about these festival days, is to walk into the shrine and be sort of taken aback by the beauty of the shrine. So Fred and Ruby have made this shrine, and the colour of the Sangha, the colour of the spiritual community is red. So I've also matched the shrine as well, if you'll notice. So it's just lovely, this sort of, the aliveness of this colour red. And Sangha is the spiritual community. So it's, when we gather together, we're honouring the sort of lineage of practitioners that have gone before us, people that have practiced the path and become enlightened. But we're also celebrating the network of friendships between us. So Sangha, we bring Sangha into being through our friendship with each other, through friendliness towards one another. And it's lovely that it's this colour red, because it's alive, it's energetic, it's the colour of blood. It's like the Sangha's like the blood of the spiritual life in a way. It's alive. And we bring it into being. So we bring it into being by gathering here together as a community. So for today, we're coming together, we're spending the day together, and we're creating a community between us. And that goes all the way back to the time of the Buddha. So when the Buddha gained enlightenment, the first thing that he did is not the first thing that he did, but quite soon after his enlightenment, he wanted to communicate the teachings to friends. And in a way, when he communicated that teaching to these 5 friends, and they understood his teaching and they wanted to follow the teaching, that was the first creation of Sangha, of a spiritual community. So what we're doing together today goes all the way back to the time of the Buddha, just after his enlightenment. We're gathering together, and we are each other's conditions. So when we practice together, when we come into relationship with other people who share our ideals, when we respond to someone with kindness, openness, appreciation, presence, they can sort of flourish. So it's like we relate to someone from the highest point in ourselves, and we relate to the highest point in them, and it's that practice, that sort of art, which creates spiritual friendship. And the whole of our tradition, the Triratna tradition, in a way, the lifeblood of it is spiritual friendship. So tonight we're going to be having mitra ceremonies, and the word mitra means friend. So there are people that have decided they want to become a friend of Triratna, and in doing so, we're sort of, it's like making a commitment to friendship. And as each person does that, the network of friendship deepens and expands. But you don't have to become a mitra today. Lots of you won't be becoming mitras today. Some of you won't be mitras already, in order to practice Sangha. The spirit of Sangha is in our communication. So it's responding to someone with love, with wisdom. So when we relate to one another today, when we bear each other in mind, we can bring that to mind, and we can bring Sangha, spiritual community, into being. So what we're going to do this morning is we're going to have about an hour of a sort of meditative morning for about an hour. I'll lead us through a body scan, and then we'll do the metta bhavana. Then if you want, you can do a period of just standing, and then we'll do a period of just sitting. But feel free if you want to just sit for the whole hour. That's going to be an hour of practice till 11:15. Then we're going to have a tea break. And that's why tea breaks are so important at the Buddhist Centre, because it's a chance to connect with one another, to sort of spotlight these friendships to spark off. When I first came to the Buddhist Centre, I was like, oh, why are they always drinking tea? Like, you're not going to get enlightened by just like drinking tea. But actually it is, Dianat will say a bit more about it, but it is the sort of, these connections that we make, they are the path of practice as well. So it's not just like a nice thing on the side, it is actually a spiritual practice. Having a cup of tea, well, not quite, but the spirit of it. Yeah, and then at 11:30 we're going to have some short personal talks. Hey, come on in. Is there a space anywhere? Yeah, just over here next to Dianata. You can just come across. Yeah, we'll have some short talks, and then we're going to get a chance to do a ritual together. And then we'll have lunch together, and then anyway, the rest of the programme will unfold, so we'll say a bit more about that. Good, okay, so let's start by saluting the shrine, and we'll do that in call and response. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dhammaya. Namo Yeah, so just make sure that you're comfortable, you've got everything you need. So if you need extra cushions, now's the time to just jump up and just make sure you've got the right cushions. It's very important. Cushion requests to Leia. Yeah, and when you've got everything you need, just start to settle down. So just making yourself comfortable in your posture, and then just start to settle into the seat of your posture. If you're at home, just make sure you're as comfortable as you can be. If you're sitting on a chair, it's quite nice to have a cushion in the small of your back or a cushion on your lap. So I'm going to lead us through a short body awareness, and then we'll have a period of the metta bhavana. So if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, close your eyes. If you're feeling a bit sleepy, you can keep your eyes open. And you can start by just taking a few longer exhalations. Just imagine all the breath leaving your body. And when you breathe in, just let your belly relax as best you can. And let your chest soften. And then another long, slow exhale. And a full inhalation. So just breathe like this a few more rounds, just taking a few deeper breaths, just helping yourself to connect a bit more deeply to the breath and the body. then just let go of trying to control the breath. Let your shoulders drop down your back a little more. And as you breathe in, just imagine that the chest is broadening and opening. And as you breathe out, the shoulders relaxing. And you can feel the back of your neck long. And the sides of your neck softening and releasing. And see if you can also soften your face, so the muscles around your eyes, cheeks. Release your jaw. Let your tongue relax. And let the throat soften. And then bringing the attention down to the chest. And then down into the belly, and just feeling the breath in your belly. And seeing if you can also let your lower back release. As you breathe in, the lower back opening. And as you breathe out, the legs, the pelvis heavy on the ground. And just feeling that felt sense of the ground beneath the body, the stability of the ground. And just allowing that sense of stillness and stability from the ground just to radiate through the whole body, the mind, the heart. And now bringing the attention to the heart. And seeing if you can just rest your awareness around the heart center. And as we move into the practice, just keep grounding your awareness through the body, through the heart center. Just coming back to that felt sense of the body when you notice that you're distracted. The Metta Bhavana. and just let your breath just be natural. Let the belly soften. Again, seeing if you can just contact the heart center even with the breath. And just relaxing the mind a little. And then just bringing to mind the neutral person and just imagine them as vividly as possible. You could even choose someone who's in the room. And just trying to make a connection with them. On the basis of this shared life. If they're here today, they also share your ideals, your values. Just seeing if you can just feel a connection with them, even if it's small. Just feed that with your awareness. So with kindly awareness, that will blossom into metta. And moving into the fourth stage of the practice, bringing to mind the difficult person. And just seeing if you can stay in touch with your body as you wish them well. And if resistance or aversion arises, you're seeing if you can just be in relationship to that, again holding this kindly perspective. Just bringing to mind ourselves, the good friend, the neutral person and the difficult person. And seeing if we could have equal well-wishing for each person. The best in us relating to the best in them. And now just broadening your awareness out to include everyone sitting here in this room. You can imagine those who are joining us online. Just expanding our sphere of concern wider and wider and wider. Cultivating a state of mind, a state of heart without boundaries. And the life within us resonating with the life everywhere. All beings. And now staying sitting, just start to let go of the practice, just releasing your efforts. And we'll move into a period of just standing. Do feel free to stay sitting if you'd prefer, otherwise you can just stand. See if you can stay in touch with the heart space. And when you're ready, just coming back down to sitting. And we'll move into a period of just sitting, so not trying to meditate and not trying not to meditate, but just sitting. So do feel free to sit on if you'd like to, but we'll head into the lounge for a cup of tea and a biscuit, and we'll be back in here at about 11:30 to listen to some talks and do a ritual together. So when you're ready, you can just jump up and head to the lounge, and we'll keep this a space of silent space.
We're doing duty simplification. Is that alright?
There's a reading that accompanies it, just a short passage.
We've got that reading.
It's it can be much as with her. It ends with you may consider this as my priest. It's that passage about Pingier says about Buddha. He is a fully perfected Buddhist son. Praises of the Buddha. I shall.
Great. Alright, let's look at it. Thank you. I'm going to say a bit, alright. Sounds good. Thanks. A bit forward. Hi guys, so who's in the choir?
Us and
You want them as well?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So we need someone to sit as well.
Yeah, you need someone to sit.
Would you sit at the front?
I'll just go.
Yeah, I think people have been singing, but I don't know. I think that's.
I think mine's a bit like another phrase.
I think maybe no, people can just change around. So I think we'll just reset the room.
I'm just going to put some more mats.
Yeah, I think we need.
Maybe
You get some of the team to help us put more mats out.
Yeah, that's what I was just
I'm
doing.
sorry. Right.
then we can go a bit.
Why don't you guys go to reset the room?
Yeah, I just like move the start moving some of the mats back. Yeah. Before we put another row back in front of the thing. Wow, that's
Not
Yeah, exactly. So basically, yeah, we're going to leave a bit around the front. Do we want to semicircle at the front?
Yeah, I need a bit of semicircle.
Shall we like to try
Yes,
and
yes.
basically neaten up and kind of like.
Don't you do that?
I was thinking we need to leave a bit of space, like so that people can come to make offerings. So maybe if we don't put the row
Well, it's just.
That's probably better.
Yeah, that's.
You might need some help.
Where's the matches?
They're in that box at the back. Yeah. Okay, great. You're in the choir. So come round.
Singers. So here we'll be standing, making a horseshoe shape, and it'd be nice not to be blocking the sat and the Buddhist. So can we?
Awesome. Just help John do this. Yeah.
Do you guys mind standing in front so you can put some mats there?
Stand here.
So should we just like do it now so you see our whole stand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Maybe we can go like round to there, just so that we can make that
Maybe go one
we shouldn't be in front of them.
No, exactly.
That's fine. Yeah. That's lovely. Yeah.
Well, we can get there. Well, if I come here, then
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good actually because yeah. Well, so I'll be there. You'll be there. Yeah. The mic will do it. Yeah, it's a good mic. Oh.
You might need to set up the other mic.
Okay. Well, I think
like reach.
we can put the mic. Yeah, it might reach.
But aren't you going to be talking in between?
Huh?
You want hand the mic? Or?
That's okay.
We do have two sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, two mics in one go. You could.
Should I get Fred?
Yeah,
Radio
get Fred.
there,
Yeah.
So it takes about 5, we've timed it down up to
Yeah.
about 5 minutes.
About 5 minutes. Okay, great. So what we'll do basically,
Yeah.
I'm not
Actually,
doing.
I might need to
I
start.
want to keep it quite magical. So I'm not
we need
going
a
to
quiet
say.
space as well, so
I'm not going to say
I
we're
don't
going to have a
know.
choir and singing
That can
and
be a
quiet.
mic.
I'm going to keep it magical. I'm going to say something special. So don't think that I've forgotten about you. I'm very aware of you, but I'm just going to keep it magical. I'm going to say something special will happen towards the end.
Yeah, maybe.
And then basically we'll go through Tuesday, we'll do entreaty and supplication, and then there'll be a silence. In that silence, you guys get up and then you can just make the offering the reading. I will say something about the reading itself though, is about. Can I just see it? So I might say something about that itself.
Yeah, I think you can.
Sorry.
I'd keep your bits. I think so, yeah, that's what I recommend because you don't want it to be too analytical at that point. You want to keep it in the future spirit. So. Yeah, I think you come on, just go straight into the reading and the song. I'll say. That's fine, yeah. Sure.
Once the speakers have spoken, we move the letter.
Yes. Yeah, once the speaker's spoken, you can move
Do we move the
No. Okay? Brilliant, that's perfect. Thank you.
Alright, so sit like you on a chair. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice to see you.
Oh, that's great. What's the so is it talks first, then? Sort of the Hey, Ollie, can you just grab me my book? Well, I found the book on top of that cushion there.
Low expectation.
It's so exciting when you open it in the morning.
Just say something about testing. Just talk about the word.
Can you hear me, Claudia? Hello.
Just testing.
Just testing.
Testing the tool.
Testing the tool.
Like it would be.
Like it would be, Anything? Hello. Can you hear me?
Sounds great.
If you need anything, just give me a shout.
I think I could do actually.
So we'll extend the cable a bit.
Yeah, let's do that. You know what we could do is get a few mats so we could put over the actual cable.
Okay, yeah.
So it doesn't go through it.
Was it just plugged in there or what?
Actually, if we just keep like this in silence, I'm just going to test it because actually probably be able to pick it up.
Testing now? Yeah. Testing. Just testing now, Javier. The microphone pick them up. Good.
Yeah, there's two spaces here. There's one here.
So, yeah, very warm welcome, as I was saying, to this morning's festivities. Great to see so many people here in the shrine room, and great to have you online as well, joining in from wherever you are across the continent, the globe, the UK, London. So it's a real good chance. It's a great chance today to come together to celebrate Sangha. So Sangha is the spiritual community, but it's also Sangha is the place we practice. It's the context we practice in, and without Sangha, there isn't practice. There isn't Buddhism. There isn't a chance to gain your highest potential in life, because Sangha is the place we practice. It's really, I find it really great that we come together and celebrate that we even have a place to practice, that we have people, friends to practice with. Because I think without that, I definitely wouldn't be here today, and I'm sure you wouldn't either. And it's meant so much to me in my life. And of course, with the beauty of Sangha is that it means that our ideals aren't an abstraction, so they're not, you don't have to just think, you're not just thinking about life and meaning and your ideals. Sangha is actually a place to put that into practice. That's what the Sangha is for. We can put our ideals into practice. And of course, that always means people, because the place and practice always means people. That's who are. That's where we're practicing. People are practicing. So we thought it'd be great to share two people, two of the Sangha, and to sort of tease out what the Sangha means to them. And in a way, these sorts of talks I usually find them very inspiring, because often I resonate with what they're saying, in my own life, but also sort of appreciate their uniqueness and individuality at the same time. And it's that lovely balance of that. So and that's what Sangha's for, sort of helping us to be true individuals, but together. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the talks and seeing what you have to say. So without much further ado, I thought to introduce Rainbow. Kusasara actually is going to introduce Rainbow. Just stand up, Rainbow, just give us a wave. That's Rainbow. And actually, Rainbow, do you want to get into position? So it's going to be about a 10-minute talk. If it gets to 10 minutes, I'll just ring a little bell just to show you. 10 minutes. Okay.
That's my position.
Your position, yeah, good question.
So when we were thinking about Sangha Day and who we'd like to hear from, I immediately thought of Rainbow. So Rainbow became a mitra the last festival day that we had here. And so I've been getting to know Rainbow a little bit leading up to that, and in the few months since. I just thought Rainbow is just very, very thoughtful. So every time I've met up with her, there have been questions that she's had that have just been very considered and interesting, and I really like the way she sort of processes her spiritual life, her Buddhist life. So mainly I just thought I'd like to hear a bit more from Rainbow about that. So it's an excuse to do that. And I also have a sense that Rainbow's very reliable, so I just thought that's a good option for us to all hear. So I'm looking forward to that, what you've got to say, Rainbow, as we all are.
Yeah, thanks, Priscilla. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. That's something a little bit more relaxed. Hi everyone. It's nice to be here today. And I first came to the LBC actually about 10 years ago. I came along with a friend, and it felt like I found this kind of calm yet alive oasis in the middle of London, which is, as you know, is very hectic. But in the years that followed, I wasn't really open or that engaged, kind of getting involved in the centres, and I was at LBC and also some other treatment centres. I wasn't very open to the spiritual life at that time. And in general, kind of during my 20s, I had quite a kind of a restless and quite independent attitude, and sometimes quite stubbornly so, stubbornly independent. Although Buddhism always resonated with me, I just wasn't receptive to it at that time. I was quite closed, kind of like a tight bud. And then a few years ago, a few things started to shift for me as I moved into my 30s. So I went through this period where there was quite a lot of change and some loss. I was moving around quite a lot, kind of where I was living, changing jobs, and then I was made redundant from a job that I thought would be the one that would stick. So then I was unemployed. And as all of that was going on, a long-term relationship was also slowly dying, and eventually it ended, or rather it felt like it exploded. In a very painful way. So all of this really shattered my sense of what I thought I knew about myself, what I thought I knew about others, and also what I thought I knew about the world around me, and left me feeling really disorientated. And with some time and distance, I've learned that when it feels like things are falling apart, there's often some gifts there as well. And sometimes even the sense of kind of freedom can come through with that. It's like the ties or the bonds that like our life as we knew it kind of break. So for me, it was like where my heart had broken, this much greater space opened up, and I developed this deeper connection to more of the depths of life, and I just really felt this need and kind of urgency to connect more with the spiritual life and spiritual teaching. So yeah, I was like reading books, I was finding YouTube videos, but it's still quite like a lone quest, like just trying to grab at these things and trying to understand and make sense of what I was going through. So yeah, I thought I knew what suffering was. And then 2020 came around and the pandemic arrived. And last year I was working in Greece, and I was living alone, and I was stuck abroad for a while when the flights were grounded. And I also felt like staying abroad was maybe a way to protect my family. I'm from quite a big family. I have 4 siblings and 8 nephews and nieces, so yeah, they're very dear to me, so it's very difficult being separated from them. Yeah, and also in Greece it was this really strict lockdown, so I really felt this sense of being trapped, feeling very homesick, isolated and afraid of everything that was happening in the world. At work the dynamics felt quite hostile and chaotic, and there was a lot of kind of gossip and quite divisive speech happening. And I can kind of understand now that perhaps I think everyone was dealing with their own suffering at that time and struggling with how to deal with it. And as part of my job, I was in touch with people who are refugees and living in towns and refugee camps across Greece. So I was having these conversations trying to understand what life was like for the people who are refugees during the pandemic. And I was just hearing these really awful stories, like very, very horrific and very unimaginable levels of suffering. And although I'd known about what was happening in that situation before, now it just felt very, very intimate, very overwhelming. And I think because I was very sensitive at that time, it just all felt like I was absorbing all of this suffering around me. And I just felt like this flood of suffering from all directions. And I had none of the usual resilience or life rafts to help keep me afloat because of the pandemic and the restrictions. I wasn't able to see friends and family or get out of the city and go into nature. And I was also aware that everyone was going through a really difficult time last year. And as I was going, kind of submerging into this flood of suffering, again there were some gifts that came up too. So I felt like I touched into this place that felt very still and like a much deeper knowing of what my priorities were and what felt true to me. And also this softening took place inside of me. And around that time I read this poem called Kindness, which you might know. It's by a woman called Amy. She had a name. And the whole poem's really beautiful, but here are just a few lines to give you a gist. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. So I got to this place where I was being really burnt out in that job, and I realised that I had to leave, and also leave the conditions that I was in there. So I was hoping to perhaps kind of travel or go on a bit of an in-person retreat before I came back to the UK, but on the last day of my job another lockdown was announced. And that was almost exactly a year ago, so that was November last year. Again I was trapped at home. So I started to go online looking for online retreats or ways to connect, again more my kind of spiritual community, and I came back to True Atma because I'd always felt a sense of kind of welcoming and warmth when I've been in touch with True Atma centres before. And that's really started my journey back to the LBC. And this time I was coming back to it with a very kind of wide heart and a kind of very open and thirsty heart. So I was joining some of the online meditations and events, and just continued to keep joining LBC courses when I was back in the UK as well. And it was still a time of a lot of change and turbulence for me, but as I've been thinking about this talk, I realised that's actually one of the things that's been very consistent and kind of constant over the last year. And I was asking myself, so why did I was showing up to be in front of my laptop, kind of with a bunch of strangers. And I think I loved learning from the wider Sangha, learning from order members about the Buddha and the Dharma. And I also really enjoyed having these really rich discussions with people, which I think is really hard to find actually. Have that opportunity to have that context where you can really delve into these deeper questions of life and help you navigate what you're going through. And it felt Sangha felt nourishing and kind of replenishing of these parts of me that felt quite starved of something I hadn't even known that I needed, which was this spiritual community and also this really rich and kind of ancient tradition and context in which to explore the spiritual life. It felt kind of, revolutionary, is that the right word? Revelatory and familiar at the same time. And I started to recognise names and faces, the more things that I came along to, and I felt really comforted by being in this very kind of warm and welcoming presence of others. And it was that warmth which it just helped me to keep opening up, and that warmth and the kind of the teachings of the Dharma, that I could see the transformation that was taking place in me. And it helped give me some momentum as well, kind of connecting with others. On a course I joined earlier this year, a few of us from across the UK and also Europe connected through the Slack channel that was part of that course. And we wanted to try out sharing confessions with each other and the Buddhist way of doing so. And after that, that group of women, we've just continued to be in touch with each other quite regularly, and we're having weekly calls for a while. And it's just developed into this really beautiful space where we can show up kind of in all our kind of flawed, messy, kind of human states and feel like we can be accepted without judgment, and explore together how to navigate life and all of its challenges through a Buddhist lens. And connecting to friends in the Sangha really inspires me and also helps keep me grounded. So it kind of encourages me to be honest with myself and honest with others about how am I truly embodying the teachings, and where do I need support. And I spoke to a couple of the women in this group this week as I was trying to figure out what to say today. One of them shared that just knowing the Sangha is there and that they're a part of it feels quite luxurious. And another one said that after we asked kind of small Sangha group meet and talk, she sleeps better afterwards, which I thought was kind of an amazing, quite practical benefit of the Sangha. So by this summer I was thinking about becoming a mitra, but I had quite a few doubts of coming up as well. I was wondering, do I know enough? Am I worthy enough? And there was also some fears around the commitment and kind of going into the unknown as well. And then, in June I went on to retreat in Suffolk. And it really felt like the Sangha kind of come alive in this very pure form. And we quickly created a community together as we were eating these really delicious meals together, meditating together, going on walks around the countryside, and also these really kind of beautiful and simple moments of just taking in the sunset together, and when we were in periods of silence. So it was just a really lovely retreat. I also appreciated how by taking it in turns to do tasks and helping out, from cleaning kind of the bathrooms through to chopping vegetables, we were all serving each other and kind of both giving and receiving in this flow of loving kindness. And after so long of just connecting through screens, it really felt very joyful and also healing to be with others in person. And not just any people, like very kind and kind of open and welcome people, and just joining together in our shared values and our shared ideals. And it was also on this retreat that, through group discussions, I gained some insight around and clarity around the role of faith in making spiritual progress. Through one of the led meditations, I really connected to this sense of really like resonating and almost like vibrating with other people. And also through one of the teachings, I gained a new perspective on how to approach suffering. So being in the presence of suffering with this steady love, which for me was neither about falling into the suffering nor avoiding it or resisting it. And I kept really reflecting on this idea of how can I be both open but also strong. So how can I be open to others and open to change? And how can I be strong in myself and kind of centered in myself? One day I was looking at a tree with this question and I was thinking the tree is such a great teacher here, because they're porous and they're allowing the elements to kind of flow through them, and also this natural unfolding and kind of opening and growth as they reach up tall. But they also have these very deep roots that keep it steady. For me the Sangha are like these roots and a resource that I can draw upon and helps to sustain me and gives me strength. And the Sangha also really helps me to grow into my potential as well. The warmth and I think seeing the best in other people allows you to see that in yourself. So I left the retreat feeling ready to become a mitra, and I did so in September, so a few months ago with 8 other people. It was in this room, and it was completely full and packed. And I really felt the support and the rejoicing of everyone there that day. And even beyond that, I felt the rejoicing of the Sangha more widely, so it was like everyone who'd ever been in the shrine room, as well as the wider Sangha around the world, everyone joining online. And I also felt this sense of connection and this belonging to something that was way beyond all of us, but also included all of us. And I felt completely open to wherever this path of being a mitra and being part of this community and the Sangha will lead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rainbow. That was very good. Nice to hear that. Thank you. Good. So now we have Oscar. So we're going to come up. Here's Oscar. So I've got the privilege and joy of living with Oscar. And I just struck by what I struck by you is your dedication actually and your commitment. You're a man who just sort of goes for it. So you actually only came along quite recently, didn't you? When was that, about a year ago?
2019.
Right. Okay. So recently, and since then you've just sort of really appreciated the teachings and what we're doing here and wanted to plunge into that, and you really have plunged into it and living in the community, and you've just come back from another retreat. Oscar's always on retreat, it seems like at the moment. But also out of that commitment is a positivity. If you've met Oscar, we can just see him now. He's very, very smiley and a positive man, and in a way just a joy to be around, and you just bring this sort of a warmth, a friendliness, and in a way an enjoyment to any situation. And I think that sort of comes out of your practice, but you also you sort of revel in that enjoyment and that positivity, and it makes you a sort of very creative man as well. You do he's in a band as well, and he plays music, and sort of out of that positivity you use that to sort of be creative and also help other people as well. And you're a carer, work as a carer as well, and you help around the Sangha and the community. So it's sort of a joy, as I say, to be around, a joy to be your friend, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Just first of all, Rainbow, that was so sort of like beautiful and eloquent and articulate. Mine's going to be more of a general ramble. But yes. So first of all, I became a mitra a year ago. Around a year ago on Sangha Day, so it kind of feels right to be here 1 year on giving this talk. And I think for me the Sangha jewel kind of appealed to me the most out of the three. It's always been something that's that's been deep in my life and been at the centre of my life, and I sort of value is very, very important. I grew up in a little village called Atherton Gifford in Devon, South Devon, right by the sea. And I kind of had quite a good life, a really positive life. I had good friends around me, supportive family, until I was about 15, and a kind of a turning point happened, and a friend of mine tragically died in a car crash. It was like a local music festival, and I had friends sort of camping over at my grandparents' place, and we were all kind of drinking together and having a really good time. And then I was drinking with my friend Jack, a girl called Jamie, who's a couple of years above me. Went to my primary school and my secondary school as well. And then later on in the night we found out that he had decided to drink drive and crashed his car and died along with 2 other people. And it was something that really shook our village. tiny little village. Everyone kind of knows everyone. And yeah, it took a long time for the village to recover and the community to recover. But it kind of, for a little bit of time afterwards, I kind of managed to see clearly that I was going to die myself. And yeah, although it was, it was incredibly tragic, I learned a lot from it. And I kind of learned that, I wasn't invincible, and that life was a very, very precious thing, and made me think about, like, okay, what am I going to do with this precious life? So I kind of turned it towards more of a kind of creative pathway. I decided I wanted to be an actor, and then for the next few years, sort of like worked really hard, trained, and joined the National Youth Theatre, and auditioned for drama school, and and it was in my final year at drama school. I was really stressed out, and I stumbled into the Bristol Buddhist Centre, and I remember we were like sitting in the kind of in the waiting room outside, just waiting to go into the shrine room, and the order member who was leading it sort of came over, and we sat down in a circle, and the order member sort of said, right, now we're all going to go around and going to check in. And I was sort of thinking, no, I'm sort of really here to do that. I'm here to meditate. I'm here for my time to meditate. But we kind of, went around and checked in, and then we did this meditation, and I was incredibly distracted, but also really intrigued by the whole situation and the whole experience. And I found it very, very beautiful in a way. The shrine room was very beautiful, and somehow sort of made me want to come back. And I was trying to think about when I actually, I went into the Buddhist Centre then, but I was trying to think about when I actually found the Dharma, the actual Dharma. And I think I was coming back on a train journey from Reading to Devon, and I bumped into a friend of mine who I hadn't seen in ages, the guy who was in the year above me at school. And we weren't really close at school or anything. And my first kind of thought was like, oh God, I've got to now sit with this guy for like 3 hours, and, make small talk, whatever. We sat together and we just chatted for 2.5 hours, and it was the most uplifting conversation. I think one of the most uplifting conversations I've ever had. It was seemed to talk about everything. We talked about our kind of creative careers and how they were really driving us, and we talked about friendship, and we talked about heartbreak, and we talked mostly, I remember, we talked about community and the importance of having community around us. And I think for me, going to drama school, that's what I loved so much about drama school, is just having everyone around me to support me and inspire me, and work on creative things together, work on something that is greater than the individuals, work on something that is bigger than us. So then I kind of came back. I moved back to Leighton, and I found out that there was a Buddhist Centre here. And I remember coming in to do the meditation challenge in January 2020. I remember Mitra Bandhu kind of giving a little spiel out there in the Muriel room about the course and stuff. I just remember sort of thinking like, this guy's really happy. He's really, really, why is he so happy? And he was just so unfazed about, there was people kind of spilling out into the reception area, and he just seemed so unfazed about talking to this big group of people, and he had this kind of like contentment about him that I sort of like, oh, that's intriguing. I was interested in that. Where did that come from? And then, lockdown happened. I moved back in with my family in Devon, my sister, and kind of immediately reverted back to like a teenage version of myself, like a 15-year-old version of myself, just being so rude. And I remember like talking to friends, and like one of my friends was like, "Oh, I'm gonna learn an instrument in lockdown. I've got this time to learn an instrument." And another one was like, "I'm going to learn a language." And I was just thinking like, right, I'm going to watch Game of Thrones. I hadn't seen it, so I watched Game of Thrones. 8 seasons within a week. So I was watching about 7.5 hours of Game of Thrones a day. I wouldn't recommend it. I really wouldn't. But I was just trying to just squeeze joy out of like this thing. And I remember like afterwards, just sort of sitting down after I finished all 8 seasons, just like, yeah, I'm not really content still. I'm not happy. That hasn't made me happy. And then I got an email from the LBC saying we've moved all our stuff online, and I just thought, yeah, there was this spring retreat, and I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. I sort of turned my phone off for a bit and kind of gave this thing a go, just sort of delved into it without really knowing much, and I hadn't had a daily meditation practice or anything. And I remember just like, the members, particularly the breakout groups, being really resistant to like joining the breakout groups and speaking to like random people and oh, I don't want to do this, like this is weird, like who are these people? And then afterwards I just felt so uplifted by people's stories and the appreciation they showed just to have a space in which to communicate. And particularly there was this one woman who I remember who was housebound. She couldn't leave her house at all, and she just the amount of gratitude she had for the LBC was just really overwhelming. I was really moved by it, and so I kind of moved back to London after lockdown and stuff. And I remember going to meet a friend who was training for ordination. And he was a mitra, and I was kind of like, oh, I feel like this, whatever this is, feels right. I feel like I want to move towards this thing that is the Dharma. But I'm not sure I want to become a mitra. Like I don't know if I'm ready. Blah blah blah. And he just kind of said, look, like if it feels right, if your gut is telling you to do it. Because he said I waited, and he said I just wasted time. Sort of sitting on the fence, and it sort of didn't allow me to really commit and to just kind of go for it. So after that conversation, I sort of wrote Sangha Reaffirmation straight away and just asked to become a mitra. And everything for me has felt totally like the next step has kind of just been in front of me, and it's felt quite clear. As I say, I feel like I'm kind of moving towards something. And I don't know what that something is, but it's exciting. I'll just share one more thing. So I've just been on a retreat, my first ordination training retreat at Pamaloka, and had this thing with this guy who I was sitting next to in the shrine room. We had to sit in the same spot each day, and the guy next to me in the shrine room I felt he was like breathing quite loudly, and he was sort of like exhaling quite actively, and it was quite like, and over a course of a couple of days I kind of like started building up stories about this guy and just like creating like these images in my head of this guy, and then it was getting quite annoying, and then in my head I went through like me telling him like, can you just keep it down a bit, and then him like reacting really badly, and then I created this whole thing in my head. And then I was reflecting on it like the next day, and I kind of thought like, okay, like so my habitual tendency is to shy away from any kind of sort of ill will or confrontation. I hate that. I'm a people pleaser, so I always want to just please people. And I thought, no, I need to be honest and actually sort of bring this up. I'm trying to work on my habitual tendencies, and I need to bring this up. And I did bring it up, and I told him about it, and he was so lovely. He was so lovely about it. He was just like, he was like, oh my God, thank you so much for telling me. I normally meditate on my own, so I'm not really used to meditating with lots of people. So this is just, I'm really, really pleased you brought it up. And immediately all my kind of, the images that I've created of him in my head just fell away, and it allowed us to sort of communicate on a kind of deeper level. So I think my point is that like, the Dharma, but more importantly the Sangha, is is making me want to work on my habitual tendencies and really communicate with people in a deeper way. I think I'll leave it there. But yeah, just to sort of go back to this like idea of like life being precious. I think life is very, very precious, and it's short. And I think we've got the opportunity to be here and practice the Dharma. So yeah, let's practice the Dharma, and we don't have to do it alone. We've got this this vibrant, brilliant Sangha to do it with. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Oscar. That was very good. Thank you. Yes, good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the ceremony. So this is the chance to, in a way, reaffirm your practice and your commitment in your own way. And I'll just say a bit about how that's going to work. And do people need a sort of a quick leg stretch? So you can feel free to sort of. Okay, so stand up. So if you can stay in the room, please stay in the room, just because if everyone goes out, it takes ages to come back. But if you need a quick break, then a lead break, then feel free to do that now. Just stand up, those that want to as well, and we'll start again in a few minutes. Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, sorry. So, before we start, actually, it'd just be good to know like who's in the room. So, just have a show of hands. If you're who's never done a ritual before, never done a puja or ritual before, put your hand up. Okay, great. So, welcome to you. And how many people in the room are mitras? So they've had a ceremony, they're friends of the sensei. Okay, brilliant. And how many people are not mitras? Okay, brilliant. Okay, perfect. Yeah, and then there are some people who are order members as well. And, but we're also mitras, if you sort of mean. Anyway, this is where it gets complicated. Okay, good. So, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a ceremony. It's a simple ceremony. It will involve verses. You say the verses back, and there'll be a chance to come up to the shrine and make offerings. Okay, and that's a sort of general idea. And what we'll do is I'll say the first 2 verses, and we'll do them. And then after that, there'll be a special bit in the puja for everyone to take part in. So, if you're not a mitra and you're just a friend, you just want to take part, then there's a verse that I'll read, and everybody can say that verse. Okay. So hang on. Is there anything else? Okay, yeah. Basically, I'll start. Yeah. So there'll be verses that different people can say depending on your level of involvement and commitment. Okay. So first of all, there'll be one verse that everybody can say, no matter what your level of commitment is. Then there'll be verses for mitras. So if you are a mitra already, and you say the verses, then there'll be a bit for mitras who've asked for ordination. So you say those verses, and then there'll be a bit for order members as well. Now, if you're an order member, you can do all the bits. If you've asked for ordination, you can do all the bits before that. If you're a mitra, you can do the other bits. So it might get quieter as we go along with it. So that's fine. Then after that, so after we've done those verses, then we'll start. Then Garavavati will start the mantra. And if you've not heard the mantra before, then you can just listen to it for a few times. And when you feel ready, you can just join in if you wish with the mantra. Okay. And the mantra is the Maitreya mantra, and it means basically love, loving kindness, and it's also in relation to a Buddha figure as well. So we just sort of, in a way, infusing the atmosphere with love and friendliness and friendship, spiritual friendship, through the mantra. And then you're welcome to come up and make an offering. And you're making an offering. If you've not done that before, you just, in a way, do what you want to do. This is there for you. It's not this ceremony is for you. So you can just come up and do whatever you want to do. But what normally people do is they light an incense stick or a candle, and then bow to the shrine to your highest potential, and then you go back and sit down. So that's that bit, and then there'll be some more verses, and there'll be a reading as well. Kusala will do a reading, and this is the story of Ananda, the Buddha's assistant, asking the Buddha about spiritual friendship, about Sangha. So it'll be good to hear that. And there'll be some other bits. There'll also be a magic element of the puja, so I won't spoil what that's going to be, but be prepared for a special section as well. And then as the puja ends, we'll just end, and we'll just go into silence. There's a lovely bit at the end of the puja, which is just a sort of silence after all the chanting, and we just sit in that silence. In a way, the whole puja builds up to that bit. We sit together in a sort of vibrant silence that we can just enjoy. Then that will bring us to the end of the puja and the ritual. So I was just thinking, why do we? I think for a puja to work, it has to be meaningful. It has to be meaningful to you. Otherwise, if you're anything like me, when I first sort of came across the puja, I was like, oh, what's all that about? That's not for me, sort of thing. And that's in a way a natural, normal response, and fair enough. You know, if it's not meaningful for you, then why do it? In a way, it has to be meaningful for it to work. It has to, because it's not a literal thing. When you light a candle, if there's not meaning in it for you, then nothing really will happen. If you sort of mean, it's just lighting a candle. But if there's meaning behind that lighting a candle or doing the chanting, then suddenly the whole puja comes alive for you and for the whole room. So in a way, you have to be in touch with them. You have to make it meaningful for you, and that's what we're doing. That's why we set it up with this beautiful shrine, which Fred and Ruby have done, to try and help make it meaningful for you. And when we're saying the verses, we're reaffirming our practice, whatever that means for us individually. And it's we're reaffirming the practice of this central act of what we call going for refuge. So that means we put at the heart of our lives our highest ideals of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. In other words, the Buddha, as in the ideal, your ideal, our ideal, the man that left all his riches and everything that normally works for us, like money and a palace, and that didn't work for him, so he left that and in a way searched for meaning instead. So that represents that ideal for us. It's our search for meaning and the example of that. Then you have the Dharma, so the practice of that search for meaning, the path to that ideal. And then the Sangha, and as I was saying before, the Sangha is the people practicing, but it's also the place. So every people need a place. There's no people without a place. So the Sangha for us is this place. So in other words, you can think of it as our purpose, as in the ideal, our practice, and our place. That's one way of thinking of the three jewels, the three ratna, the three refuges: our purpose, our practice, and our place. And in a way, today we're celebrating that place, the place for the people, the place for the friendships. And out of that place comes our practice, and then comes the purpose. And Sangha, who's on the shrine, his vision of his life was to build that place for us. Coming from the Buddha, that was the Buddha's vision as well. But of course, Sangha has made that possible for us today. We wouldn't be here today without him building this, in a way, literally building this place for us with help. And also, when I say place, I mean the sort of the atmosphere, the context for our practice. For him, his ideal was that as long as you're putting those three things at the centre of your life, to that extent, you're practicing, you're a Buddhist, you're practicing your ideal. So to the extent that you're putting your purpose, your practice, and your place at the centre of your life, is the extent that your practice is alive. And of course, the extent that your practice is alive is the extent to which you're alive, I'm alive. So that's why in this ceremony we're going to be, in a way, ritually sort of celebrating and reaffirming that commitment to those three ideals, purpose, the practice, and the place, so that we can, in a way, enjoy those ideals in the context, and in a way encourage them out, and feel that, in a way, the puja is about trying to feel those ideals, feel the magic of our practice, the ideals, the atmosphere, and the atmosphere of Sangha. And that's the place for that's what the puja is doing. It's like the place par excellence, if you see what I mean, the Sangha par excellence, coming together and with those ideals in mind, and cultivating that aliveness, celebrating friendship, and celebrating, that feeling of like coming home. That's what Sangha is all about. That's what I feel about it. So hopefully you can sort of feel that for yourself, feel that meaning in the ceremony yourself, and see if you can enjoy it. And in a way, just be open and see what happens as we go through the ceremony. Okay, good. So, okay. And we'll start. We'll do a bit of settling, and then I'll remind us of the stages as we go through, so don't worry if you've got anything, and anyway, just go with the flow. But we'll start after a few moments. We'll start when Amayodin's ready by hearing Sangha own words, his own, in a way, introduction to Sangha and the puja.
it is not enough to have a distant idea of enlightenment, the theory of the Buddha's teaching, or a Buddhist organisation. There is no future for Buddhism without a truly united and committed spiritual community dedicated to practicing together. And when Buddhists do come together in the true spirit of the Sangha, there is then the possibility of inhabiting, for a while at least, the Dharma Dhatu, the realm of the Dharma. In this realm, all we do is practice the Dharma. All we talk about is the Dharma. And when we are still and silent, we enjoy the Dharma in stillness and silence together. The clouds of stress and anxiety that so often hang over mundane life are dispersed, and the fountains of inspiration within our hearts are renewed.
A Sangha ceremony. Firstly, worship. With Mandarava, blue lotus and jasmine.
With Mandarava, blue lotus and jasmine.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
I pay honour to the princes of the sages.
I pay honour to the princes of the sages.
So worthy of veneration.
So worthy of veneration.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
Sweet and penetrating.
Sweet and penetrating.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
Festooned with golden lotus.
Festooned with golden lotus.
On the paving sprinkled with perfume.
On the paving sprinkled with perfume.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
Salutation. As many atoms as there are.
As many atoms as there are.
In the 1,000 million worlds.
In the 1,000 million worlds.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To the Siddharma.
To the Siddharma.
And to the excellent community.
And to the excellent community.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
And places to which the Bodhisattvas have been.
And places to which the Bodhisattvas have been.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
Okay, so now we move on to the affirmation ceremony. And first of all, the Going for Refuge verses for everybody to say. Going for Refuge. This very day.
This very day.
I go for my refuge.
I go for my refuge.
To the powerful protectors.
To the powerful protectors.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
In the Dharma they have ascertained.
In the Dharma they have ascertained.
Which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Likewise in the host of Bodhisattvas.
Likewise in the host of Bodhisattvas.
I take my refuge.
I take my refuge.
So for mitras, in call and response, as well as anyone who's asked for ordination and order members. I commit myself to the Buddha.
I commit myself to the Buddha.
And to the tradition he founded.
and to the tradition he founded.
I commit myself to the Dharma.
I commit myself to the Dharma
and to the practice of the 5 precepts.
and to the practice of the 5 precepts.
I commit myself to the Sangha
I commit myself to the Sangha
and to the spiritual community
and to the spiritual community
around me here and now.
around me here and now.
Mitras training for ordination and order members. From now onwards,
From now onwards,
until the attainment of enlightenment,
until the attainment of enlightenment,
with great reverence of body, speech and mind,
with great reverence of body, speech and mind,
I go for refuge to the Buddha Shakyamuni.
I go for refuge to the Buddha Shakyamuni.
From now onwards,
From now onwards,
until the attainment of enlightenment,
until the attainment of enlightenment,
with great reverence of body, speech and mind,
with great reverence of body, speech and mind,
I go for refuge to the Buddha Shakyamuni.
I go for refuge to the Buddha Shakyamuni.
From now onwards,
From now onwards,
until the attainment of enlightenment,
until the attainment of enlightenment,
with great reverence of body, speech and mind,
with great reverence of body, speech and mind,
I go for refuge to the Buddha Shakyamuni.
I go for refuge to the Buddha Shakyamuni.
Order members in call and response. With loyalty to my teachers,
With loyalty to my teachers,
I accept this ordination.
I accept this ordination.
In harmony with friends and companions,
In harmony with friends and companions,
I accept this ordination.
I accept this ordination.
For the attainment of enlightenment,
For the attainment of enlightenment,
I accept this ordination.
I accept this ordination.
For the benefit of all beings,
For the benefit of all beings,
I accept this ordination.
I accept this ordination.
Blessings. Just listening to the words. May all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you. By the power of all the Buddhas, may all happiness be yours. May all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you. By the power of all dharmas, may all happiness be yours. May all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you. By the power of all the Sangha, may all happiness be yours.
Om Maitri, Maha Maitri, Maitri Swaha. Om Maitri, Maha Maitri, Maitri Swaha.
Om Maitri, Maha Maitri, Maitri Swaha. Om Maitri, Maha Maitri, Maitri Swaha. Om Maitri, Maha Maitri, Maitri Swaha. Om Maitri, Maha Maitri, Maitri Swaha. Om Maitri, Maha Maitri, Maitri Swaha. Om Maitri, Maha Maitri, Maitri Swaha. Om Maitri, Maha Maitri, Maitri Swaha. Swaha. Maitreya Swaha. Om Maitri, Maha-Maitri, 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 Maitreya Swaha.
Refuges and precepts. Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa.
Namo tassa.
Bhagavato arahato.
Bhagavato arahato.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranam gacchami.
Sanghang saranam gacchami.
Sanghang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Tatyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Tatyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Tatyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Tatyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Tatyampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Tatyampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Panatipata.
Panatipata. Satipatthana
Veramani
Veramani
Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami Adinadana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami Kamesu Michachara Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami Musavada Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami Suramarya Majja Hamadatana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami With deeds of loving kindness.
With deeds of loving kindness,
I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With open-handed generosity.
With open-handed generosity,
I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With stillness.
With stillness,
simplicity, and contentment. I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With truthful communication.
With truthful communication,
I purify my speech.
I purify my speech.
With mindfulness clear and radiant.
With mindfulness clear and radiant,
I purify my mind.
I purify my mind.
Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling among the Sakyans, where there was a town of the Sakyans named Nagarika. Then the Venerable Ananda approached the Blessed One. Having approached, he paid homage to the Blessed One, sat down to one side and said to him, "Venerable Sir, this is half of the holy life. That is, good friendship, good companionship, good comradeship." "Not so, Ananda, not so. This is the entire holy life, Ananda. That is, good friendship, good companionship, good comradeship. When a bhikkhu has a good friend, a good companion, a good comrade, it is to be expected that he will develop and cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path." "And how, Ananda, does a bhikkhu who has a good friend, a good companion, a good comrade, develop and cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path?" "Here, Ananda, a bhikkhu develops right view, which is based upon seclusion, dispassion and cessation, maturing in release. She develops right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, which is based upon seclusion, dispassion and cessation, maturing in release. It is in this way, Ananda, that a bhikkhu who has a good friend, a good companion, a good comrade, develops and cultivates the Noble Eightfold Path. By following the method too, Ananda, it may be understood how the entire holy life is good friendship, good companionship, good comradeship. But by relying on me as a good friend, Ananda, beings subject to birth are freed from birth. Beings subject to aging are freed from aging. Beings subject to death are freed from death. Beings subject to sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair are freed from sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair. by this method, Ananda, it may be understood how the entire holy life is good friendship, good companionship, good comradeship.
Entreaty and supplication. Saluting them with folded hands.
Saluting them with folded hands.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
With hands folded in reverence.
With hands folded in reverence.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
May they remain here for endless ages.
May they remain here for endless ages.
So that life in this world
So that life in this world
does not grow dark.
does not grow dark.
They call him Buddha, enlightened, awake, dissolving darkness, with total vision and knowing the world to its ends. He has gone beyond all the states of being and becoming. He has no inner poison drives. He is a total elimination of suffering. It is like a bird that leaves the bushes of the scrubland and flies to the fruit trees of the forest. I too have left the bleary half-light of opinions. Like a swan, I have reached a great lake. This prince, this beam of light, Gautama, was the only one who dissolved the darkness. This man Gautama is a universe of wisdom and a world of understanding. A teacher whose Dhamma is the way things are, instant, immediate and visible all around, eroding desire without harmful side effects, with nothing else quite like it anywhere in the world. There was a time when, writhing in the mud of the swamps, I could only drift from one stone to the next. But then I saw the Sambuddha, fully awake and free from defilement. This man is Sambuddha. He has opened the curtains and woken up. There are no more questions for the doubtful who come to him. The teacher has answered them all. Yes, I shall go there. I shall go beyond change. I shall go beyond formations. I shall go beyond comparison. There are no more doubts. You may consider this as mind release.
I shall go beyond formations. I shall go beyond comparison. There are no more doubts. You may consider this as mind released. Yes, I shall go there. I shall go beyond change. Yes, I shall go there, I shall go beyond change. Yes, I shall go there, I shall go beyond change. Yes, I shall go there, I shall go beyond change. Yes, I shall go there, I shall go beyond change.
Yes, I shall go there, I shall go beyond change. Yes, I shall go there, I shall go beyond change. Yes, I shall go there, I shall go beyond change.
I shall go there beyond change. I shall go 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 beyond formations. I shall go beyond comparison. There are no more doubts. You may consider this as mind released.
Transference of merit and self-surrender. May the merit gained in my acting thus go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. My personality throughout my existences. My possessions. And my merit in all three ways. I give up without regard to myself. For the benefit of all beings. Just as the earth and other elements. Are serviceable in many ways. To the infinite number of beings. Inhabiting limitless space. So may I become. That which maintains all beings. Situated throughout space. So long as all have not attained. To peace. Om Shanti. So feeling free to sit on and hear or keep the space silent if you wish. Otherwise, if you're joining us for lunch, going to get some lunch, bringing you back and setting yourselves up for lunch outside. You can leave the mats and cushions where they are.